As you guys likely know, I'm a big fan of Dana White. I think he is the best CEO, chairman, whatever position he has with the UFC going. He is definitely the most masculine man that is out there, and if anybody would just go ahead and take up his reins, I think the world would be a hell of a better place. I posited this idea with my breakdown of the Blade situation, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's interpretation of Blade, and if, somebody just made an unabashedly masculine character, Hollywood's renaissance would be right there for the taking. And if somebody would just simply take the lead and follow the way of Dana White, the world wouldn't be as bitched up as it is right now. But there is only one Dana White, and I don't think we're going to find another CEO, another chairman outside of, at one point in time, Vince McMahon, as much of a clown show circus as the WWE has turned into. Vince McMahon at his full powers, he was also kind of that guy. And that's probably why Dana White and Vince McMahon get along so well together. But now the fact that he's got that little pencil drawn on mustache and he's pushing 80, the best days of Vince McMahon are definitely well in the past. I like the do-rag interpretation in his backstage interview with John Cena that's never going to see the light of day again. Keep it up, anyways. What other head honcho of a big business is going to go out there and do an 86-hour water fast? Like, this guy's absolutely out of his mind, but shout out to him, This is something I like to talk about, even though I can't do it because the channel got booted off of YouTube coming up, I think March or February, ended up getting taken down. But if you're unaware of this, over on Rumble, I still do some of the health and nutrition, exercise stuff, just exclusively on Rumble as just, a nice little nod to the platform that does actually value freedom of speech and expression. So yeah, we talk about things like diet, exercise, and fasting over there. So if you're interested, feel free to go check it out over there. But anyways, Dana White reveals he completed an 86-hour water fast. Now, that's not entirely true. He did also have something else on top of it, but it's something that, in order to do these prolonged fasts. So what he was doing was an 86-hour water-only fast, but he also had bone broth in there as well. It doesn't break the fast. It doesn't end up triggering any insulin spikes. Therefore, you can kind of continue to go through. It's a great way to detoxify your body, just trigger a bunch of autophagy and clean up a bunch of, broken down and damaged cells. It's a great way to do it. And if you're going to do one of those, especially one that's as extended as that is, as somebody who fasts 1 day a week and then might do a 2-day fast once every quarter, if you're going to do something like 86 hours, that's something that you do once, maybe twice a year, no more than that, because it is very harsh on the body. But at the same time, like he's saying right there, it left him feeling like a superhero, because yeah, that's one of those things, if you're on a fast for any amount of time, right around that 36-hour mark for me, as somebody who fasts on a consistent basis, I'll tell you what, man, the moment that those ketones kick in, oh boy, it is a superpower in and of itself. The clear thought process, the articulation that I notice when I'm having a conversation, it's just right there and available. Nothing quite like it. That's probably why I do it once every week, and then also to just clear out everything and just make sure that I'm feeling at top shape. But yes, the UFC chief quickly tells fans thinking of doing the same to do your own research. Yes, of course, if you obviously have health conditions, or if you're not at the top of your game, 86 hours just dropping it without any preparation, that's not something that you just do off rip, Like, there's been a lot of talk about different diet techniques where you just have the intermittent fasting. You've probably heard about that in some form or fashion, where you just have an eating window, something else that I employ, mostly because I'm working all of the time. So by simple nature of that, I do 1 meal a day with just like a 2-hour eating window or something like that. That's the way that I do it. You don't necessarily have to do that yourself. I just find that works the best for me. But of course, I worked my way up from that. Obviously, growing up, you had your 3 square meals a day and you had your snacks throughout the day. That never really ended up working out well for me. I always hated breakfast intrinsically. So if I could find a way to go ahead and try to famoose my way out of that, that's the way that I would roll. And then over the years, I just ended up working myself up to having probably a 12-12, then probably an 18-6, and now I've just landed on 1 meal a day. That's the way that I roll. Your results may vary, but of course that's building up over a certain amount of time. And like he's saying, just going for a water fast off rip, good luck to you. It's going to be a bitch. As somebody who's gone on like a 3-day long fast, that's about as long as I've gone specifically. It's mostly because it was actually kind of impromptu. At the time, I was only anticipating doing a 2-day fast. I just couldn't go any longer because the food that I bought for the week was starting to, get a little bit antsy. And, I'm somebody who's also excessively cheap, so I didn't want to let that go to waste. But yeah, no, it was totally fine. UFC chief Dana White has revealed he completed an 86-hour fast, drinking nothing but water and bone broth. That's something that you can do because there's collagen that's in there, so that you can go and make sure that you end up accelerating some of the regenerative side effects of doing such a prolonged fast. And the 54-year-old who traveled to New York for UFC 295 said in a video posted to X that he began to fast after the event on Saturday and adhered to it until Wednesday, citing unnamed medical studies on the fast. No. There's plenty of evidence that goes and backs that stuff up. White claimed that it gives people an over 80 or 70% chance of not getting cancer. Again, that's autophagy. So if you have any sort of busted off genes or cells in there, it'll just go ahead and it'll repair that. Alzheimer's, again, relying on dirty energy sources, and that your body eventually will switch over to ketones by burning fat. That's the way that ends up working out when it comes to Alzheimer's. Again, that's something else that I talk about extensively when doing the health and wellness stuff over on Rumble. If you're over there already, you likely know that stuff as well. And other nasty diseases. All of that is true. I just don't know about the 70% chance. Not entirely sure about that. He also showed off his shredded physique, which, that was one of those things that had been mocked for a while. It's like, oh, you're pudgy and you run a fight league. But now, at 57 or some shit like that, motherfucker's shredded, okay? Now as braggadocious as he is, is anybody actually going to fucking press this dude? I don't think so. He also shows off his shredded physique, and when the fast was over, he said it left him feeling like a superhero. I did an 86-hour water fast, and I feel incredible. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, and I've been told by the experts that water fasting can help to significantly reduce the risk of cancer, Alzheimer's, and a ton of other health issues. Truly. That's exactly. Because a lot of people, when it comes to fasting, have different targets in mind for what they want to do. Like if you do intermittent fasting throughout the day, just different eating windows, that's more or less just kind of portion control, weight loss stuff. But then after about, what do they normally say, somewhere around 36 hours, then you start to get to the regenerative benefits. That's when that stuff starts to trigger. And if I'm doing my 1-day fast per week, I'm aiming for like a 40-hour fast window. At least. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. Sometimes it treads into the 42, 44 hour mark, but it needs to be at least 40 because I want some of those regenerative benefits. And then, of course, I just want everything flushed out. Not like I have a filthy diet. It's just I like feeling great, and it's a good day to just refresh. Anyways, like I said, I could talk about this stuff forever. This is just to set the scene that Dana White is fucking built differently because he's up there. Also, and this is something else that I was talking about, and, trying to give him a little bit of stick because at the end of the day, he was the guy who signed the $105 million per year Bud Light sponsorship with the UFC at the time when Bud Light, it still is that time, by the way, is an absolutely and totally toxic brand. And if anybody was going to go ahead and mitigate the risks associating themselves or their brand with Bud Light, it was going to be Dana White because basically this dude doesn't give a flying fuck about anything, and well, he just goes to show why he's got that reputation. UFC president Dana White issues 2-word response to sponsors over a Donald Trump request. What the fuck are we talking about right here? So he was on the Theo podcast, speaking with him, and his endorsement of the 45th and, God willing, 47th president of the United States ended up coming up as a topic of conversation, and whether or not that has got between him and the UFC and certain sponsors. Well, he went and elucidated on that situation. UFC president Dana White reportedly told a sponsor to go fuck yourself. He said that there was a 2-word response. That right there, it's clearly 8 words. After they asked him to remove a social media post showing Donald Trump at the last week's fight card. The former U.S. president has attended numerous UFC events in recent years and was present at UFC 295 on Saturday. We talked about that before, and the spurg fit that ended up coming out of that as a mixed martial arts promotion staged a card in New York City at Madison Square fucking Garden. Took them long enough, thanks to stupid ass, oh my god, shout out to the most patriotic brain tumor ever, the one that resided finally in the cranium of John McCain, who ended up causing all the problems with getting MMA regulated within New York State specifically, because him out there saying that it's basically human cockfighting. Fuck him. There's no punishment he's receiving in hell right now that is good enough for that traitorous piece of shit. Anyways, Trump, who is already in the city due to his ongoing civil fraud trial, which has already taken other twists and turns, but at this point in time, me reporting on anything outside of the verdict would be completely and totally a disservice to that fucking clown show, because that's already going to be going through appeals. Already has on one level, but anyways, I'll continue. Entered Madison Square Garden to the sound of cheers, a fucking thunderous response, by the way, accompanied by White, former Fox News host, Tucker Carlson, his son, Kid Rock, like the entire crew was there. Speaking on the podcast hosted by comedian Theo, White said on Tuesday, 14th of November, I posted a video of Trump on my personal social media. One of our big sponsors called and said, take that down. You know what I said? Go fuck yourself. Yo, you vote for whoever you want to vote for. And I'll vote for whoever I want to. That's how this works. I don't care who you're voting for. It's none of my fucking business. Fuck you. Don't ever fucking call me and tell me who to vote for. Yo, guess what? Did that sponsor end up pulling their fucking money? Absolutely not. I'm at the point in my life and in my career where if I want to be with the people that I'm aligned with, it's not just about the money. It is about the money because it's a sponsorship deal, but it's not just about the money. So yeah, obviously a sponsorship deal is for money. Okay, he's not stupid on that front, but he's not just going to get into a sponsorship relationship with a company that he doesn't think is a good fit. Okay, that's why he's a president for a brand as successful as the UFC for as long as he's been around. I'm not going to take a big offer if it's not something I'm aligned with, and I don't 100% believe in. When I do a sponsorship deal with somebody, you have to look deep into what they are doing and who's running the company, who's making the decisions, and who you are aligned with. So yeah, that's why I thought it's like, the Bud Light deal doesn't really look good, okay? But he also laid out the fact that, yeah, they've done a lot of good stuff with a bunch of veterans, and if they're going to be recommitting to that, which, that UFC deal does a lot to rehabilitate their standing, that's for true, and the fact that they have been overly patriotic, even though they haven't officially released any sort of an apology to the people that they ended up calling stupid and susceptible to mis and disinformation, them trying to go ahead and write the course again goes a long way. The UFC sponsorship does more good for Bud Light, and the Bud Light association with the UFC doesn't really hurt them all that much because they have such a strong figure right there at the top, willing to tell a sponsor, trying to meddle into the ongoings of the company to just go fuck themselves. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.